I'm Greg Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Senator Mitch McConnell, the minority leader, on Thursday released a letter from the attending physician of Congress pronouncing him medically clear to continue his schedule as planned. Now, this is a day after the Kentucky Republican froze up suddenly at a news conference in what appeared to be a medical episode similar to the one he had on camera just last month. Some neurologists opine that McConnell is likely having many seizures or strokes. Donald Trump pled not guilty in the Georgia election case yesterday. The written plea means Trump won't return to Atlanta on next Wednesday when arraignment hearings for him and 18 co-defendants are scheduled. The former president faces 13 charges that he took part in a vast conspiracy to overturn his 2020 election loss in Georgia. This is Trump's fourth criminal case. Proud Boy leaders are finally being sentenced. Joseph Biggs sentenced to 17 years for his January 6 crimes, and co-defendants Zachary Rell, who led the Philadelphia Proud Boys, received a 15-year sentence. Ethan Nordine was given 18 years, and Dominic Pizzola, the man who set off the initial breach of the buildings by smashing a window with a riot shield, was given 10 years. When Zachary Rell, that is, addressed the court, he alluded to Trump's role, saying he fell hook, line, and sinker for lies about the election being stolen. He said, "I wasted my time on politics for people who aren't even here today, for people who haven't offered any support, and for people who let me sink all the way to the bottom." And i.e., those people, would be Donald Trump. Rell said, "I'm done peddling lies for people who do not care about me." Well, he'll have lots of time on the 15-year sentence to consider who those people are and how they are not thinking about him. A Missouri judge has ruled that the Kansas City man by the name of Andrew Lester, who shot and injured Ralph Yarl after the black teen went to the wrong house, must stand trial. The judge ruled there was enough evidence for the case to proceed. Yarl testified at a preliminary hearing along with neighbors and witnesses. This case was sealed from the public by a judge in May due to its high-profile status, a decision that Yarl's family and his attorneys have criticized. The nation's schools are short of 100,000 mental health professionals. Schools face shortages of counselors, psychologists, social workers, and therapists. And all of these shortages have worsened since the coronavirus pandemic began. There's an ongoing student mental health crisis, but demand for help exceeds supply, even as providers try to find ways to address the emergency. The White House has stood up a war room of 24 lawyers, legislative aides, and a communications staffer to lead an aggressive response to a likely Republican impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. The effort has been taking shape for months in the White House counsel's office as part of the response to Republican-led House investigations. Biden's aides and allies say they are preparing to vigorously push back against an impeachment inquiry and present it as evidence-free, partisan sham witch hunts. A white artist was invited to design a statue of Harriet Tubman in Philadelphia. But after complaints from the community, the city canceled the contract and held an open call for submissions. The controversy over the Tubman statue is part of a broader conversation in the art world about to what extent racial identity should matter. This summer, the New Orleans Museum of Art was criticized for appointing a white woman as its curator of African art. And in 2017, protesters called out the Whitney Museum of American Art for including in its celebration a painting by Dana Schultz, a white artist, that was based on the open coffin photographs of Emmett Till. As you all know, Emmett was a black teenager lynched by white men in 1955. Some say art about black people should only be created by someone who has a shared history. You are listening to Areva Martin in real time, and I am your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. I am sitting in for Avi Bernard. That's usually holding it down on Areva Martin in Real Time Friday edition. Avi has the day off, and Areva Martin is here. And in this hour, I am joined by two brilliant contributors, Chris Walton, who is a former chair of the Democratic Party of Milwaukee County, and Isaac Wilson. Isaac is a Democratic strategist, and he is the acting chair of the Democratic Party of Florence County in South Carolina. And in hour two, you all know that's the hour where we go deep, where we dig behind the headlines on some of the biggest stories of the day. Now, some of these stories make big headlines and others have big impact. Today, we are talking about hurricanes. Yes, and not just the mechanics of what causes hurricanes, but I'm going to ask two of the country's most renowned experts on hurricanes. Are hurricanes racist? Now, that may sound like a rather odd question, but when Hurricane Harvey flooded Texas in 2017, the southwest Houston neighborhood that suffered the worst flood damage was 49% non-white. And in 2005, when Hurricane Katrina devastated southeast Louisiana, African-American neighborhoods suffered the most damage. So today we're tackling the issue of race and the impact of hurricanes on black communities. We've already been told that Idalia, the most recent hurricane to impact both Florida and Georgia, has caused over $9 billion in damages to those states, and that number is growing. And we can expect to start seeing reports out about how that damage estimate has disproportionately impacted black communities in Florida and in other parts of the South that were impacted. So stick around for hour two and learn about not only what causes hurricanes, but why is it that black communities in particular seem to fare worse or be the most negatively impacted when there is a hurricane. But before I bring on my guest, here's what I'm thinking about in real time. Yesterday, I was able to talk about a really good, feel-good story, The Rock and Oprah raising or donating $10 million to help the victims of the Hawaiian wildfires. Today, what I'm thinking about is the opposite of that feel-good story. This is a depressing, a disappointing, a frustrating, just a story that makes me angry as a mother, as a black mother, and should cause you to also have great concern, because we were given an opportunity today to see the body cam footage of the police officers who were involved in the shooting death, the lethal shooting of 21-year-old Takia Young. Takia is was, I should say, because she is deceased now, a pregnant mother who was shot by police near Columbus, Ohio, while exiting a parking lot, a grocery store called Kroger's parking lot. This shooting death of young Takia has ignited, as it should, outrage and sadness across this country. Takia was the mother of a 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old son, and we know that she was 6 months pregnant with a daughter who her family said was due to be born in November. And in this senseless shooting death of Takia, her unborn child, unfortunately, also expired. What we are being told is that Miss Young was a suspect in a shoplifting episode at this Kroger's. Allegedly, she had shoplifted along with some others items from the Kroger, including alcohol, and this happened last Thursday. Apparently, she was confronted by police in this small township called Blendon Township. Again, this is a south or a northeast suburb outside of Columbus, Ohio. This confrontation with police over the shoplifting accusation quickly, as so many of these situations do, quickly turned fatal when the police are saying that Miss Young refused to obey a verbal command to her to exit her vehicle. They are saying that as they were trying to get Miss Young to exit her vehicle, that she instead drove her car towards an officer. Now, apparently this officer was standing in front of her car, had his weapon drawn, and as she made some kind of move, it's not clear what kind of move she made, but there's an allegation by the police, at least, that she turned her car's wheels in the direction of this officer, and that is when he fired his gun into the windshield, killing Miss Young and her unborn child. Now, it has taken this township, this Blendon Township Police Department, more than a week to release the body cam footage from that horrible incident, that horrible shooting, the horrible lethal shooting that happened on that Kroger's parking lot. And we also, as of this date, a week later, do not have the names of the officers involved, because apparently there were two, one that was at one point talking to Miss Young on the driver's side of her car, and then this other officer who comes along and is standing in front of her car. The township is relying on this law, they call it Marcy's Law, which they say aims to protect crime victims, but is being cited by the police agency as a reason that they cannot release the names of the officers involved in the shooting of Miss Young. They won't even tell news media how long the officers had worked on the police force, if they have a prior history of this kind of, shooting, unconstitutional, what appears to be an unconstitutional shooting, if they have a disciplinary record or anything. We don't know anything about these officers. We do know that this township has requested that the Ohio Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation get involved and conduct an investigation of the shooting. And again, I say, here we go again, because how many times have we had to report on an unarmed African-American person? Usually it's a man, but oftentimes it is a woman. And in this case, it is a Black pregnant woman who is shot by police in a situation that seemed so incredibly senseless. Now, I don't know what bottle or bottles of alcohol would be worth losing your life for it. I cannot imagine that police are trained to shoot through a windshield at someone who is unarmed, not pointing a gun at them. And the threat here, I guess, was the vehicle, but seemingly that threat could have been eliminated pretty quickly just by this police officer getting out of the front of the vehicle. And we can think of so many ways that this could have been de-escalated, from shooting at her tires to shooting a warning shot, to allowing her to leave the parking lot and taking down her license plate, which we often talk about in these cases, and later knocking on her door to arrest her. She's 6 months pregnant. She has 2 kids at home. She ain't going nowhere. But rather than use what appears to be common sense ways to de-escalate a situation, guns are drawn, shots are fired, and now thoughts and prayers for another African-American victim of a senseless police shooting. And it just leaves me, and I believe, millions of people around this country asking, when will Black lives really matter? When we come forward, more of today's trending news with my expert contributors right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580. Hi,
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 is inviting you to join us on Saturday, September 16th, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for our very first economic empowerment event for the community. This event is free and it's powered by Caltrans. We're doing this in association with Rambo House, and here's Rambo to tell you more.
Contracts. I'm going to say it again for all of us small business owners out there. Contracts. Rambo House, KBLA, Tavis, me. Oh my God, this is going to be massive. I truly thank Caltrans for giving us the opportunity to focus on contracts. Listen, that's what it's all about to be a small business in LA. That's how we hire our own. That's how we expand our community is contracts. KBLA1580.com is for you to have a seat at our contracts-focused event. Contract Ready does it again. We had over 900 last time. So you guys know how exciting this is. And if you just think that you want to get into contracts and you're close to it, bring your friends out for September 16th at the Marriott Hotel. Listen, you know where to register. KBLA1580.com. Come see me. I can't wait to see you. Let's do it, Tavis.
So be sure to go to KBLA1580.com for all the details. We'll see you Saturday, September 16th.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is here with the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area, featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about our full regimen of products.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go, shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit NoTimeToWait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and in this hour, I'm joined by two brilliant Democratic strategists, Isaac Wilson and Chris Walton. Okay, guys, thanks so much for joining me on a Friday afternoon, and I know both of your businesses involve politics, but here is a non-political question I wanted to talk about today, and it is this Harriet Tubman statue in Philadelphia. So the city wants to design a statue, pay tribute to Harriet Tubman. They apparently go through some process, enter into a contract with a white artist, and when the word gets out, the community goes bonkers, backlash, the most incredible backlash that you can imagine, so much so that they cancel that contract with the white artist and put out a request for a proposal, get close to 50 or so proposals back, this time by all black artists. But it's really raising a bigger question about who in the art world should be able to either be an art curator, an art director, or the artist him or herself when it comes to paying tribute or overseeing black art, black museums, black artifacts, etc. Isaac, what do you think about this controversy and the bigger question about, must all black art be designed by black people?
I think it should be a culmination of just black people in general. Somebody black needs to be over it, but also the artist needs to have a play in who is over their stuff, who is displaying their things, and they should have a say in how it's displayed and when it's displayed. And those talks should always be ongoing. So that's where I'm at with that. So you agree with the city in canceling the contract with the white artist and basically making it a process by which only black artists were invited to
apply for the opportunity to create the statue?
Yes. I mean, I don't get that part. I'm not an art person. I just think that if they're doing the job right, and even in some sense, if that white artist or that white curator or whatever has displayed that they are doing the job and can do the job, hey, get them. But we can't put black art on the back burner, or we can't negate anybody's talents. So if you're doing the job, you've been doing it, you've proven yourself, hey, get a shot at it.
What do you think, Chris? Do you think the city did the right thing by canceling the contract with the white artist and pretty much making it a black-only apply process?
Well, let's see, Areva, and it's good to be with y'all again today. You're an attorney. This is opening up the city to a whole bunch of cases, potential discrimination cases. I get what they're trying to do, but where the best design and what the best design of that statue probably would be, that's the one that should be selected, and we should probably go that direction. I would recommend, but there's ways to also make sure that there is the proper input on that statue. Make sure that the people who are actually in place making those design decisions, make sure they're black. Make sure that everybody has a fair and open shot. Make sure you publicize this information that hey, we're going to be doing a design contest for a statue for Harriet Tubman. Make sure you go purposefully into certain areas and say, hey, we're doing this. If you have an ability to design, step up, put your design in. You gotta go beyond the usual routes. But that right there alone on its face, that's a little that shouldn't be the direction I would say let's go. But I get what they're trying to do, but I just don't think that's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you both, or with you in particular, Chris, that I don't think that the city went about this the best way. I can't imagine that when they first put out the bid looking for artists, they didn't do exactly what you said, which was go into black communities and make sure that black artists had an opportunity to apply. And I don't think you want to have a blanket rule that unless you're black, you can't create black art or you can't be a curator at a black art museum. I think, that's a way too narrow of a view, and I agree it's probably going to get you sued in addition to just not being the best way to ensure you're getting the highest quality services that you need. But to ensure the integrity of the art and the integrity of what you're trying to represent, you can always create an advisory board. You can always have other folks who are African American weigh in and have some decision making as it relates to what is being presented. So, okay, get the art question out the way. Now let me just talk some hard politics because you guys are political animals. Let's talk about this impending impeachment. We now are learning that Joe Biden is not just sitting idly by and waiting to be surprised by the Republicans who may be, dead set on impeaching him. He is working with a team of lawyers and aides and communication staffers to be prepared to launch a serious counteroffense when and if the Republicans launch into this, what appears to be really senseless impeachment. What are you making of this, Isaac?
That's what you do. When you are a sitting president, when you are for the American people, when you are for doing the right thing for people, you got to come correct. And Joe Biden is saying that, hey, I'm ready for you guys because I still want to put the American people first. And how I do that is protect myself. And how I do that is be ready for you and don't get blindsided. I think he's doing the right thing. I think Republicans are just crazy stupid on just trying to come back on what they did for Donald Trump. Donald Trump deserved his, and Joe Biden just don't deserve this. So be ready for the attack when it comes against your name and your character.
Yeah, Chris, I was extremely happy to hear the word aggressive response used in the context of Joe Biden because Democrats sometimes, our responses aren't as aggressive as Republican responses. And let's be clear, the reason of the so-called, the stated reason for the potential impeachment inquiry is around corruption. The congressional leader Kevin McCarthy says it just seems like the Joe Biden's family is corrupt. And they've asked them for all of these personal financial documents, not just from Biden, but from his children and others in his family. And they said, if we don't get these documents, we're going to move forward with this impeachment. Not because Joe Biden has done anything wrong, that they have evidence of any wrongdoing that would disqualify him to be president of the United States, not because they believe there is a snowball's chance in hell to have this impeachment inquiry go anyplace, but simply to try to distract from the indictments of Donald Trump and to try to suggest to the American people that Donald Trump, that Joe Biden has the same problems as Donald Trump has. What do you make of this, Chris? And is this likely to backfire on Republicans?
It should, but I'm not in a position to give Republicans advice on what to and not do. I look forward to seeing whatever they may do, because this is one giant just backward horse race. It's an entire mess. Joe Biden, his entire career, you could literally see this man from the age of 29 to now, the amount of public information of his finances. He was literally the poorest U.S. senator for most of his career. That is saying a lot. You are the poorest U.S. senator. You literally use your salary as your salary. A lot of them don't. We are in a situation right now where they're just trying to grasp at every straw. It's like a man falling from the air, falling out of a plane, trying to grab something to hold on when you have nothing to stand on. You put nothing forward. You have nothing to put forward. Your values are not the values of the majority of the American people. And honestly, we don't like you. So in the end, when it comes down to it, you know what the saying goes, stay ready so you're going to have to get ready. Joe Biden is going to be ready, as he has always been, for every single thing he has stepped forward to put himself forward for. And this impeachment, if they decide to go down this idiotic path, we will be ready for it, because there's nothing there to show. You're going to say you have the smell, the suggestions, the ideas that he may be the most corrupt man on earth, even though he's been in politics this long and we haven't had any situation of corruption?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. You raised such a good point in terms of, if you've been in office this long, federal office, you've been a senator for many years as Joe Biden was senator, vice president twice, run for president multiple times. You have filled out so many financial disclosure forms. Your whole financial life is an open book. And there is no way that Joe Biden could be, there's not a scant, just any level of evidence against him to suggest that he's corrupt. And whatever his son may be, let's talk about Jared. Let's open the books on Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. Let's open it on his daughter and all of the money that they made trading on their positions as daughter and son-in-law of the sitting president. So I think if they go down this road, not only will the Biden administration be ready to fight back, but I think it will be a huge mistake for the Republicans. It will be like them continuing to support abortion laws around this country. They will face an incredible backlash from voters who will say, you are wasting our time. You're not governing. You are the party of investigations. You are not the party that is trying to move this country forward. When we come forward, we're going to talk about those Proud Boys and those incredibly long prison sentences, as well as Senate Leader McConnell. Is it time for him to hang it up? Stay with us. KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A Trump co-defendant in the Georgia election case is pleading not guilty to racketeering and conspiracy charges. Kenneth Chesebrough, who's charged with orchestrating the so-called fake elector scheme, pleaded not guilty and waived his arraignment in the criminal case today. He's accused of outlining a plan to have alternate presidential electors cast their votes for Donald Trump in states won by Joe Biden in the 2020 election. And New York City's Black Mayor Eric Adams is telling New Yorkers to hit him up with a text, saying he wants to hear from them about how the city's doing.
If you text me the word first, I'll send you a special voice memo for being among the first to reach me.
The new initiative is run through the community platform, and it will allow the city to send messages to anyone who signs up. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
We've got a SIG alert in Buena Park on the 5 northbound at Beach Boulevard. Got a crash blocking the right lane. It is stopped coming away from the 91. Downtown LA on the 10 eastbound at Hoover Street, disabled vehicle is blocking the left lane. In Elysian Park on the 5 southbound before you get to the 110. Got that crash blocking the left lane. It's heavy from the 134. And in Montclair, 10 eastbound at Monte Vista Avenue, Big Rig partially blocking the left lane there.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows and shipping is free. And right now, save 50% off any order during our Labor Day sale. Blindster.com.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Pac-12 Conference continues to crumble. Presidents in the Atlantic Coast Conference voted Friday morning to add Cal and Stanford. The Bay Area schools will join the ACC in 2024. A wonderful milestone for HBCU football. Tennessee State is playing at Notre Dame on Saturday. Notre Dame guaranteed Tennessee State $1 million from the gate revenue. That's the highest guarantee ever for an HBCU school playing a non-conference game. Props to Notre Dame for making it happen. You can catch the game live on NBC at 12:30. Two other key games this weekend involving HBCU schools. Central State plays Mississippi Valley State Saturday in the Chicago Football Classic at Soldier Field. On Sunday, Jackson State battles Florida A&M in Miami. Noon kickoff on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. 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 Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, you know. Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and they're putting their money where their mouth is at. So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community, and you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase, and give them another look. If I go to another institution, I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right, Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. There's no time like the present. present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back, and I have two brilliant Democratic strategists joining me in this hour where we are tracking today's breaking and trending news. Isaac Wilson and Chris Walton are here, and in hour two, we are talking to experts about hurricanes and the disproportionate impact they have on Black communities. I'm really thinking should we be asking the question, are hurricanes racist when you look at all the damage that they do in a disproportionate way to Black communities all over this country? But all right, more politics. Isaac and Chris, Marjorie Taylor Greene, probably one of your favorite women in Congress, said that she will not be signing off on any efforts to fund the government. We're back to needing to pass a bill so that we can continue to fund the government. She said without an impeachment inquiry, she is not interested, and she is holding or attempting to hold her party hostage. Chris, we talked a lot about what Kevin McCarthy had to give up in order to get the position as Speaker of the House. And one of the things was making deals with the devil, including folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who now is going to try to hold our entire government hostage over this bogus impeachment inquiry. What can Kevin McCarthy do to silence, or must he capitulate to the demands of Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Well, he has options. None of them are good for him, which, particularly makes me happy. But he has options. He doesn't need Marjorie Taylor Greene. He could simply do like the U.S. Senate has done. The Senate has already passed all 12 of the appropriations bills in a bipartisan fashion, and actually put them up for a vote and pass the budget, and we can be done with this. We don't even have to do a short-term thing. We could just have a budget for next year. But, alas, Kevin McCarthy ain't the greatest Californian, so we should probably expect him to capitulate. He's probably going to force something to the floor, and it's going to fail. Then we're going to have a budget shutdown, and they're going to try and say it's Biden's fault when we already clearly know whose fault it is, because we have a ungoverning majority in the House of Representatives. They can't govern, they don't know how to govern, and they refuse to govern. And then they got this lackluster, feckless Speaker of the House who does not compare at all to Nancy Pelosi, leading them. So, if he wants to get this thing passed, he could go ahead and pass the deal that him and President Biden struck earlier this summer, pass the bill, and go ahead and give up his speaker gavel, because they're going to kick him out.
Yeah, what's so interesting, Chris, is that the American people, not all of them, but some of them in certain parts of the country, continue to send Republicans to Congress. And as you just said, they are not a governing party. They don't know how to govern. They don't know how to write legislation. They don't have a leader that can hold the party together to get legislation passed. So having Republicans as the majority does this country no good. They spend all of their time bickering, fighting, trying to use their offices really to advance the agenda of Donald Trump. They are even trying to make inquiries into the prosecution of Donald Trump in Georgia, suggesting that somehow maybe any federal funding that the district attorney in Fulton County receives, that funding would be cut off, or other ways that they can call her into Congress to make her testify to try to intimidate and pressure her into not prosecuting Donald Trump. None of that advances the interest of this country. So Donald Trump is running for president on one agenda, and that is to win so that he can pardon himself and all of his cronies. And the Republicans in the House right now have one agenda item, and that's distract and figure out ways they can use Congress to support Donald Trump. And again, none of that benefits poor people in Kentucky, indigenous people, in the Southwest, poor people in urban communities. It just doesn't benefit anyone. Even middle class or affluent people aren't benefited by Republicans in office. And hopefully people will finally start to see that. I want to ask you real quickly, Isaac, though, before we take some more news about these Proud Boys. 4 of them have been sentenced today. There's going to be another sentencing taking place next Tuesday. But these 4 Proud Boys have gotten some of the longest prison terms yet in the January 6th insurrection cases, and so far 1,100 people have been prosecuted. So when people say Merrick Garland hasn't been doing anything, check yourself, because he has prosecuted 1,100 people. And there are many more to come, so much so that they say the D.C. courts are overwhelmed, that the court system cannot keep up with the prosecution of this many people. But 4 of them, the leaders of the Proud Boys, I think, Isaac, I was shocked to hear this Zachary Rell. He was the leader of the Philadelphia Proud Boys. He got 15 years. He didn't call out Donald Trump by name, but he alluded to him by saying he fell hook, line, and sinker. He wasted his time on politics for people who aren't even here today. And by that, he means, look, we're here, we being the leaders of the Proud Boy, but the man that summons us to the Capitol, i.e. Donald Trump, he's not been charged with seditious. He hasn't been charged with efforts to overthrow the government under the same federal statute that they were charged with. What do you make of him having that come to Jesus moment?
I think a lot of them are going to have a come to Jesus moment and realize that Donald Trump's not in your best interest. Donald Trump will throw you to the wolves to save himself. I don't care if it's his wife. I don't care if it's his children. He will throw you to the wolves to save himself. So them having a come to Jesus meeting, I'm not sympathetic to it. I'm not empathetic to it. All of those words, I'm not even agreeing to it or even thinking about it, because you knew what you were getting into and you knew who Donald Trump was. He showed his hand time and time again. So to think that Donald Trump was going to somehow change course and be this grandiose guy that comes to the rescue of you, I just think that was idiotic of them. And, more of this is going to come. These other 18 people that are indicted in Georgia, some of them are going to have a come to Jesus moment, and they're going to flip because they understand they have families to take care of. They understand that Donald Trump is not going to be sitting at their dinner table and having to explain to their wife and kids what's going on. So some of them are going to flip, and all of them are going to have a come to Jesus moment. So I'm not surprised that they're doing it. They're actually understanding that, hey, hold up, I'm an individual. Hold up, Donald Trump is rich and famous. Hold up, I just got a 9 to 5. And, yeah, you was taking care of me while I was with you, but now I got to take care of myself and my family. So now I got to understand some things. So that's neither here nor there with them. I hope all of them get what they deserve and live their life to the fullest, wherever that may be, behind bars or at their grandiose condo on a beach somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, of course they tried to plead for leniency. Some of them talked about their children, the fact that they were going to have to leave their daughters and their families. And the judges pretty much said what you said. Like, you made a choice. You made a conscious decision to go to the Capitol and to use force to try to basically overthrow the peaceful transfer of power, overthrow the legitimate election of 2020, and you did not give thought to the consequences that you would face. And when you listen, Chris, to the video that these ringleaders made as they quote unquote breached the Capitol, it's really galling. I listened to it all over again, and they're bragging, they're laughing, they're patting each other on the backs, saying, we did it, we've taken over the Congress. I mean, they acted as if somehow they would not face any consequences, that they could literally make a video, post it online, and that the FBI or some law enforcement agency would not come knocking on their door. So, the hubris that these men displayed on that video, and one of the main leaders, Enrico Tarrio, his sentencing will be next Tuesday. He's described as a former ringleader of the neo-fascist gang that one member called the Foot Soldiers for the Right. He also was convicted on treason-related charges for plotting to unleash a violent assault in the halls of Congress. So, Chris, when you see these sentences, what do you think?
Radio, so I can't tell you exactly what I think. But if I recall correctly, the punishment for treason is death. I think that they're not getting enough time. I'd like to see them all get at least 25 to life, because what they did was treason. You attacked the United States government and tried to overthrow our democracy. The last person who did that, we caught him in Pakistan with SEAL Team 6 when he attacked the United States government. So I think they all getting off pretty easy, and I think they deserve more punishment. But honestly, their punishment is to know how dumb they really are. You really thought in your mind that Donald Trump was going to come and save anybody but himself?
Right.
And you really thought that he spent this time? You think an election got overturned and this election is corrupt? Well, everything was so wrong with the elections. Who was president when this election took place?
Yeah.
You know, they always spend time saying, Joe Biden is senile and he has Alzheimer's, but apparently he's also the mastermind of a global conspiracy. So which one is it?
Right, they can't make up their mind. Hypocrisy is just nauseating. When we come forward, who is likely to replace Senator Mitch McConnell? Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat in the Lex since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Dilly, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac, Cadillac, Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com. Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range on a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with the CHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
Support comes from Getty, presenting The Gospel at Colonus, a theatrical event under the stars that reimagines the story of Oedipus. Blending Greek myth with Black spiritual practice, the show follows the blinded Oedipus as he seeks redemption after a lifetime of tragedy. Co-produced by Court Theater, conceived and adapted by Lee Brewer, with music composed by Bob Telson. Thursdays through Saturdays this September at the Getty Villa Museum. Tickets available now at getty.edu.
Hello, I'm Will Jimeno. I'm a retired Port Authority police detective and a 9/11 survivor. For 13 hours, I was buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center. I was rescued thanks to brave people who were willing to put their own lives on the line to save mine. For 9/11 this year, a National Day of Service, I'll be paying it forward by taking time to help others. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org to learn more.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
The way we spend our time defines who we are. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
After that freezing incident on camera where Senator Mitch McConnell could not answer a question that was posed to him by a journalist, he has been working pretty rapidly trying to quell any conversation or thoughts that he may not be fit to serve as the minority leader. He had a letter issued by the physician for Congress saying that he was cleared to return to work, and he has been moving behind the scenes to reassure his colleagues that he is fit. But there are those who believe that it is time for Mitch McConnell to hang it up. And again, our good friend Marjorie Taylor Greene says that McConnell, Dianne Feinstein, Joe Biden, John Fetterman should all resign, because she says they all are too old and too infirm to serve. Now, she didn't mention Donald Trump, who happens to be the same age as all of the folks that she just identified, but somehow those people made the list, but not Donald Trump. So, Chris, is Mitch McConnell going to be forced out by his Republican colleagues? And if so, who might replace him?
So, as far as him being pushed out, I don't know. That is I don't often sit in on the Republican caucus very often, but I can see it happening, and it will be one of three people: Senator John Thune of South Dakota, Senator John Cornyn of Texas, or Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. All three of these gentlemen have been basically jockeying in a triangle around Mitch McConnell's body like vultures, trying to figure out what exactly where they can go up. For John Thune, this would be really a career cap for him, because he defeated former Minority Leader Tom Daschle to get his seat. So for him to become the Minority Leader, it would be poetic justice. And he's currently the Minority Whip, so he's the number 2. I will say this. Mitch McConnell, I am not a big fan of his, but I do applaud his ability to go on mute when Beyonce says.
What are you thinking, Isaac? Do you think that McConnell can convince his colleagues that these little, what some doctors are calling mini seizures, mini strokes, don't impair his ability to serve? And do you think there should be some kind of test, mental test, or some kind of test when lawmakers get to be a certain age?
I think there should be a competency test when you turn 80 and you're in office. We know that some of your days are fantastic and some of your days aren't. And so we need somebody that every day they can stand up to the American people and they can talk that good talk with the American people. They can know what they're talking about. We don't need people like Mitch McConnell, and I pray that everything's all right, and I pray that everything goes well with him. But we don't need people that are representing the American people, and you don't know from day to day whether they're going to be okay or whether they're going to be healthy or not. So there should be some kind of level of test that he has to pass or that he should go through to make sure that he's okay. His choice for a replacement, I think that's probably going to be Senator John Cornyn. He's already in the mix of things. John knows the lay of the land. He's cool with most of them. And so I think he's probably going to be the replacement. I just think it's a no-brainer to bring him from the House to the Senate.
Okay, if both of you have identified John Cornyn as a possible replacement for McConnell, is this something that's likely to happen, Chris, you think, before the 2024 election? Or does the Republican Party need Mitch McConnell in their efforts or for their 2024 efforts to try to take back the Senate?
Honestly, I think McConnell may step down if Trump gets the nomination again, or especially if he wins, because he's not going to have a good time being the leader again under Trump. Trump is going to make every single day of his last 2 years in that term a living hell. And I think that when you really come down to it, I don't think that just because you are of a certain age, you're going to have a bad day. Hell, I'm about to be 35, and I have good days and bad days.
So I take it you don't agree with that 80-year-old competency test that your colleague just said he thinks should be mandatory?
I don't. I know they're already taking these things. If you're able to do the job and you're up to do the job, whether you're 80, 35, 42, if you can do the job and you can improve to do the job and your doctors are actually giving you actual health reports, and you all know that's not true, it's one thing. But to just require this, there are a lot of requirements that we don't have on the presidency and on any of these positions, because at that point when we put these positions in place, these ideas didn't even exist of what to do. I think there's a time we need to actually open up the book and look at what requirements should be added, what competencies we maybe need to add. But just to say, just because you're over 80 and you may have a bad day, you automatically need to be checked for your competency. I'm pretty sure on any given day, all of us need to be checked for competency.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of a mandatory test at a mandatory age because, what is that age? Who gets to determine what that age is? As you said, I'm thinking about a family friend who was forced to retire from a law firm at 65. And he was so devastated by it. He lost the thing that he loved the most, which is the practice of law. He was still completely competent and capable. And in doing so, I mean, eventually he died. I can't say he died because he retired, but, just the heartbreak of losing his profession. And clearly now at 60, this was maybe 10 years ago, at 65 today, nobody would think of causing anyone to have to retire or to lose their job. So I think it's a slippery slope. We open that Pandora's box. It's going to be difficult to control. What are the questions on this competency test? Who gets to decide, who takes it, and all kinds of privacy issues, all kinds of issues of bias we know with tests. So I think Mitch McConnell should govern himself accordingly. I think Dianne Feinstein should govern herself accordingly. And if these people know that they are not capable mentally or physically of serving the people that they were elected to serve, they should have enough honor to step down. And if they don't, they should be challenged. I mean, the reality is we do have a way to get rid of folks in Congress and in the Senate, and that's called voting them out. So all of those folks that think either of these or any of the individuals on Marjorie Taylor Greene's list can't serve, mount a campaign and get them out. Real quickly, these 18 defendants may be already negotiating, Isaac, as you said, plea deals because they have mounting legal bills. And Donald Trump, he doesn't pay for anybody. He doesn't use his money even on himself. He figures out a way to have his low income, senior citizens pay his legal bills. Give me an estimate of who you think flips first.
I think if this case doesn't go to federal court, Mark Meadows, and I'm thinking it's not, I think Mark Meadows flips first. Mark Meadows has planted himself in South Carolina. We don't know he's a resident here. And I think that he is definitely going to flip first. He has a family to take care of, and South Carolina is like nowhere else in the country. So I think he's going to flip first in order to take care of his family. Good point.
What do you think, Chris? Got a couple of seconds here.
I gotta agree. I think Mark is one step away from turning state's evidence.
Wow, I have my money on Giuliani, but it could be both of them because both Mark Meadows, although younger than Giuliani, but both of them have a whole lot to lose. Giuliani, as we know, has already lost a tremendous amount. He has this civil lawsuit where I think there's going to be millions of dollars in damages assessed against him for those two black election workers in Georgia. So he's got that. He's got mounting legal bills. He is an unnamed co-conspirator in the district court in D.C. So he's got another criminal case that I think he's going to face pretty shortly. So I don't know, maybe it's going to be a race to the prosecutor's office between Giuliani and Mark Meadows, but I think we're all right. Somebody's going to flip because these people are not going to lose everything like they watched happen to Michael Cohen. I think Michael Cohen was exhibit A for a lot of these guys. We are out of time. Thank you so much, Chris Walton and Isaac Wilson. Always a pleasure to spend time with both of you. I'm always a lot smarter when I do. Look forward to having you back on the show. When we come forward in hour two, we're going to be talking about hurricanes and the disproportionate impact that they have on black communities. Got me asking, are hurricanes racist? Right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. This Labor Day weekend will see 200 million people in the U.S. feeling some brutal heat. Forecasters say there will be a heat wave in parts of the northern Central Plains and upper Midwest that will last through the Labor Day weekend. Areas of North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois will see their all-time hottest September records. And Donald Trump is denying allegations that he significantly inflated his net worth. In a post on Truth Social, the former president said he was being defamed by Black New York Attorney General Letitia James, and her claims are false. James accused Trump of inflating his worth by